So we just recently got Disney Plus, as many other people have done during the pandemic. And a short story that I came across while I was looking through all of the different options on Disney Plus is a short film called Float. It's about 6 or 7 minutes long. And I just thought it was such a touching and beautiful story about some of the emotions that a parent might go through when they have a child with differences. Hi there, my name is Cynthia Veronica, and I am the mother of a beautiful, lovely young boy. His name is Sebastian. He is 4 years old, and he has achondroplasia, which is the most common form of dwarfism. When I first saw this film, I really thought a lot of parts of it were really relatable, so I wanted to share with you my take on this short film. The writer and director of this short film is a man named Bobby Rubio, and he is Filipino American, and he has a son who has autism. He explains in the making of the film that he really just went through the whole grieving process when he first found out about his son's diagnosis of autism. And apparently he didn't really take it very well and had a really hard time with really accepting his son's diagnosis. Part of the healing process that he went through was exploring his emotions through his creative outlet of creating this short film. The story is basically about a dad and a son and the discovery of this wonderful gift that this boy has, his ability to float. It's unusual and it's beautiful, but it's also something that makes him different. So the dad goes through a series of emotions when he sees his son floating for the first time. First, he has a look of bewilderment and shock. Then slowly a smile appears on his face and he actually looks at his son sort of in awe. And that for me is an amazing moment because he's seeing this amazing gift that his son has. But then a neighbor walks by and there's onlookers, and all of a sudden fear and shame take over the dad. I think what's really interesting about this whole scene is that the moment that the baby starts to float, all of these emotions that are happening are really happening in the dad. The baby himself, he's fine. He has no ill feelings towards his ability. For him, it's just something that is. He's just being in that moment. Babies come into this world knowing nothing about thoughts and emotions and behaviors. For them, they just come out into this world pure. They're almost like a blank slate when they're first born. The dad's reaction actually brought me back to my own personal experience, with my own son. I actually learned that these fears that were within me about, my son being treated differently or society not accepting him because of his difference were fears that were within me, and it really had nothing to do with my son. He was not born with these thoughts and feelings and emotions. And it's something that I really had to dig deep into within myself to really explore and to find out why I was feeling this way and the moments of when I was conditioned to feel this way. What was it in my life experiences that made me develop these fears for him? I also learned that I had the power within myself to model the behaviors for my son that I wanted him to feel. I had to model feelings of confidence and love and pride for who I am and for who he is. Most people don't actually realize that they could actually shift their thoughts and emotions in any given situation. I often say that I am so grateful for Sebastian, not just for the gift of motherhood that he gave me because he is my firstborn, but also because I have learned so much about myself through him. And I've learned things that I probably never would have learned if it wasn't for him. He has really taught me so much about myself. In the next scene, some time has gone by and the son has aged a little bit and so has the dad. And the dad is actually looking a little irritated because his son is floating around the house. He's actually annoyed at this behavior and he actually pulls his son down. He physically and emotionally brings him down by putting rocks in his backpack. And so they go out of the house, they start walking, and as they're walking, the dad sees some of the neighbors and he quickly runs to hide behind a car. He is so ashamed that he actually wants to hide. He'd rather hide than bump into them in the street. This is actually very extreme behavior, but maybe not too far-fetched. I think that it's easy to avoid certain situations because strangers and even certain friends have preconceived notions of differences. And not everyone really understands how much there is to gain from differences. There's so much love and beauty and community that can be formed around it. There is really so much to gain from it. And for me personally, it's a privilege to be a part of all of it through my son. And it actually took me a while to really understand that any negative feelings around it are just a society's fears and insecurities, and it really has nothing to do with my son. Society, unfortunately, has a problem with really truly accepting differences, and it's too bad because society is really missing out. So the dad and the son stumble upon a park, and to the dad's horror, the son begins to float in the park. The boy really just wants to play, and all the other parents of all the children pull their children away or just look at the boy in judgment. But the boy is just happy to be there and happy to be playing at the park. There comes a point in time where the dad has to make a decision. He could either walk through the gates outside of the park with his son and just pull him away from that situation, or he could stay and he could really embrace that moment with his son and enjoy time with him at the park. When he makes the decision to actually walk towards the swing and allow his son to be himself, there's a look of relief and joy that actually comes across the face of the dad. And all of a sudden, no one else in the park matters. All eyes might probably be on them, but for the two of them, there's no one else around. It's just the two of them playing at the park. And at that moment, the boy and the dad are free, and no one can take that away from them. I am so moved and inspired by this particular scene in the story because it really shows that it's a story of strength and empowerment. The way that Bobby Rubio, the writer and director of the story, puts it, the dad actually becomes a parent at that moment when he accepts his son wholeheartedly. I love reading and watching inspirational stories, so when I saw this one, I just really wanted to share it with you, and I really hope that you get the opportunity to watch it. So I'll put more information about it in the description if you're interested. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.